shared some of the aspects of the story of the parable of Matsya Avatara with the Sangha in relationship to Matsyasana for the middle section of the lungs in the Hathenas. And we were talking right now about how sometimes, what I was asking the Sangha, what does it mean to you that this area of the body and the Madhyam Pranayama and the U of the Pranava Om are connected to the emotional self and the emotional world and emotional intelligence. And I was I was just asking or sending a message saying that there's a relationship perhaps between the flood, this is such an important part of the Matsyavatara parable, where he's small and then becomes larger and larger as the flood is arriving, right? So it's just coming. And he becomes large enough when the flood comes so that he can actually travel on it, in it actually. So I was thinking, emotions often feel like such a flood, the rush of joy or the disheartened feeling, they just wash over you. It's sometimes very difficult to manage. And so the Hathenas help us with Matsya, because Matsya really proceeds with more and more of a back arch, and it feels like the fish is becoming bigger, I mean, we could see it, let's say we could see it, perhaps, but definitely it's bigger in intensity by bending the legs and then not using the elbows, so it feels bigger each step we do. And that's true in the Hathenas also, no? That it feels like there's an increase of intensity. And so, yeah, I know you're busy, but this is where we were when we were waiting for you. So
it is beautiful, Sangeeta, because I think one of the special, unique features you have as a teacher is your background in performance. When you are part of performing art, your conceptualization of things will be very different than somebody who's a hardcore wired into scientific inquiry, which often puts things in boxes. So a fish is a fish and nothing more than a fish. Whereas because of your unique background, I think that you are well endowed with creative genius that enables you to look at this perspective so beautifully well that I have not conceptualized before. So bow down to that creativity that is manifesting through you. Now, a few points on this. I love your analogy of that we are growing as the flood of emotions is growing, and the flood of emotions has a lot to do with the flood of the neurochemicals in our nervous system. Our neurochemicals are flooding the system, and when you have serotonin, melatonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, oxytocin, all of them, going up and down. And there are some nice images of if there's more dopamine and less serotonin, what happens, and less serotonin and more melatonin, what happens. And they have all these combinations. But it's flooding your nervous system. So if you think of emotion as a flooding of the nervous system by the neurochemicals, there is this flood. And one thing with a fish, it doesn't have vocal cords, so it cannot talk. And someone, I think it was Alokji, sent me a video the other day of one of our playwrights who was talking about this. He said, because fish cannot talk, we don't think of fishing as being inhuman. Because they cannot, scream and make a halabala, which mammals can do. So, you kill a goat and you have a lot of noise. You kill an elephant, you have a lot of noise. You kill a human being, you have a lot of noise. You kill a fish and there's not much noise. So, fishing seems to be such a calm and docile activity. It's a very beautiful point there. But if you look at the mouth of the fish, it is doing the oo. Have you noticed that? The fish is always doing the oo. So it's in the Kaki Mudra doing the oo. That's why it's Madhyam Pranayama. So in case you ever have confusion about Madhyam Pranayama, remember the fish is going oo. So it's the mid-chest breathing. And again, I always think of fish and gills. which is breathing a more like a mid-chest type of movement you find when a fish is moving. It's actually very interesting. Now there's a nice cartoon of the on the net where they have a gangster. The gangster is putting his victim and drowning him in the water, and there's a gangster fish which has tied its victim to a balloon and sending it up above water. It's in the same frame. So the human gangster is drowning his victim in the water, and the fish gangster is undrowning its victim by making it go out where there is no water. It's a very interesting perspective that comes there. Now, the story of Matsyavatara is also very similar to Noah's Ark, if you think about it that way, because there is an element that just like Noah's Ark was there to tide across the crisis, that Pralaya, that similar Matsyavatara is to tide across the crisis of Pralaya with the Vedas being safeguarded. So you actually have a very interesting cross-cultural linkage when you think about that story. And again, the Dasavatara is a whole story of evolution in its own way. But coming back to the Madhyam Pranayama, when we talk about emotions, we are talking about a very strong limbic system. Now, the limbic system is hardwired to only feel, not think. So the limbic system can only feel, not think. So either it is love, 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 or it's hate, 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 or it's anger, anger, anger. It's never love, hate, anger, love, hate. The limbic system has to always be in this performing mode. It has to be larger than life. And that is why when we are not in control of our emotions, our intercostals also lose control. Which is why when people are emotional, there's a lot of heaving of the chest. If you notice people who are emotionally upset, you will see a lot of heaving of the chest is there. You don't find them having calm abdominal breathing, and you don't really have this, you don't even have that. It's more, it's more this is associated with whether it be hate, whether it be love, whether it be anger, whether it be despair. There's a lot of the heaving of the chest. And this is why the genius of the yogis, and I highly recommend a video I made this morning on asana, pose, posture, poise, because I realized I have not made a video of that, though I talk a lot about it. And so please like, subscribe and share. I sound like one of these YouTubers now. I never say that in my YouTube videos. I never say that. I don't even have a subscribe button at the end of my videos. I'm like, to hell with that. But just to come back, what the yogis did, their genius was, they said, we cannot change the way you feel by thinking about it. Please think about it. You cannot change the way you feel by thinking about it, because when you are emotional, there is no rationality at all. Rationality has gone on the next boat already. Kappal yeri poyach, in Tamil we say. And rationality has got on the boat and gone away when you are emotional. And that is why the worst thing you can try to do is talk to somebody who is in an emotional upheaval and try to explain to them things with logic. They will never understand it. It is not possible. They punch you in the nose, or they'll get mad at you and run away, or they'll start crying more. They will never understand logic. You try to say, why are you getting so emotional about it? Is this? And they're like, you don't understand me. And they go into that. Or they'll punch you or they'll run away. Because the emotions are not capable of rational thought. At that moment of emotionality, your limbic system has cut its relationship with the prefrontal brain. It's not going to think. So the yogis said, if we try to say, think about your emotions, it's not going to work. If we say, feel your emotions, it's not going to work. So they said, let's do something. Let's trick the emotions. Let's make the emotions think we are not interested in them. You know that story that if you keep on running after somebody, you will not get them. Stop running, they'll come to you. Not just people, things also. Life's like that. The more you run after it, the further away it goes. As someone said, if you want to have butterflies, don't run after them. Plant a garden, and the butterflies will be in your garden. You plant a garden, the butterflies will be there. Instead of running after the butterflies, what are you going to do? Catch them and pin them up in a box? No butterfly wants to be pinned up in the box, okay? You create a garden, they'll all be there, enjoying life. You can enjoy them and they'll enjoy life. So what did the yogis say? They said, let us do something with the body. So that the emotions think you are not paying attention to them, so they are not worried about you. And you put yourself into Matsyasana. And you put yourself into Matsyasana, you backbend and you hold that open chest position with stability. Remember what I said, when you're emotionally volatile, the whole thorax is going in and out, up and down, and it's all of this volatility. You are putting yourself into a physical posture where the thorax is stabilized. What a genius. Stabilize the thorax, open it and stabilize it, and start to do deep breathing, and suddenly your emotions are like the genie that is being pulled into the bottle and cannot escape anymore. They are all like... Now if you go to the emotions and the emotions are like this and you say, hey, control, they go, control, control. So what do? You stabilize yourself. Stabilize the chest. Stabilize the heart region. Stabilize the lung. Cardiopulmonary stabilization. A beautiful open-chested. Oh, what is open chest? Open chest is I am willing to face the challenge. This is I am afraid of the challenge. This is I am open for it life. I am going to cultivate strength, courage, endurance and stability. And you breathe. You breathe in this position, you have stabilized it, and suddenly the emotions are like... in an old Indian Tamil movie, very famous movie, it's one of our cult classics, Thiruvilayadal. It came out when I was a kid. I took the students to watch it, and at the intermission they all went home because they thought the movie had finished. They didn't know it was only the half of the movie, because our Tamil movies were so long in those days, 4 hours. So when 2 hours finished, they thought the movie had ended and went home, and I'm like, where are all these students I brought from the ashram to watch the movie? He had another 2 hours left and they thought it was finished. It's the stories of Lord Shiva. And there's a very beautiful story where there's a very arrogant singer who comes and sings and says, if none of your singers in your kingdom can sing better than me, you give your kingdom to me, because your kingdom is the king is my servant, your kingdom belongs to me. And we used to have this in India. They would go and they'd conquer by just the arts. And the king doesn't know what to do, and he has to get somebody to challenge the singer, and none of the singers want to challenge him because they know they cannot win against him. And so they all play a game and get one of the Shiva Bhaktas to be put up, who's like, what am I going to do? So he goes to the temple and he is singing to Shiva and saying, I don't know what to do. Shiva goes to that, that arrogant singer's guest house, sits outside, and at night, midnight, sings a song. It is such a tremendous song. That singer says, who are you? He said, I'm a student of the guy who's going to come and challenge you tomorrow. He gets so scared, he runs away from the kingdom. And this is the play of Shiva. It's called Thiru Vilayadal. Vilayadal means play. Thiru, the sacred plays of the Lord. But in that iconic song of Shivaji Ganeshan, one of our greatest actors, Marlon Brando of Tamil movies, he was the best. And he's emoting in that as a singer. He plays the mridangam, plays the veena. It's a beautiful, Google it, it's an amazing song. There's a beautiful song, and in that Paatum Nane, Bhavamum Nane, that song, there is a beautiful place where he says, he says, only when I move, the whole world moves. And at that moment, they show the ocean, and there's a pause and the ocean stops. The birds are flying and the birds stop flying. The trees are swaying and they stop swaying. They just put a pause on it in those days. This is in the 80s, okay? I'm talking about movie made, 60 years ago. Amazing moment where everything just stops. And then he gives a small gap and continues the song, and everything starts moving again. That is the exact thing you are doing to your emotions when you do Matsyasana. You are stopping them in the track because of the somatopsychic mechanism of the practice. You are using the body, the soma, to impact the whole psyche. That is why these are not just, oh, that is the fish posture, yeah, we did it last week in class. Okay. It's not about that. You are cultivating these beautiful attitudes. You are cultivating positive emotions. That is why Amma used to say, yoga is not the suppression and the repression of the emotions, but it is the sublimation of the emotions. For too long, our modern religions have tried to suppress and repress emotions. We need to sublimate emotions. Emotions are very powerful. That is why Patanjali, when he talks of Pratipaksha Bhavanam, there has to be Bhavana there. He doesn't say Pratipaksha Chintanam, Pratipaksha Chetanam. He doesn't say contrary thought. He says you take a contrary attitude that is empowered by the emotion. I will not. That is Pratipaksha Bhavanam. I am no good. Stop that nonsense. You are good enough. That person is so bad to me. It's okay. That's what they are. I will not let their perspective of me determine who I am. That is Pratipaksha Bhavana. Not, oh, maybe I will think, I won't think, okay, that's a negative thought, I will not think it. I will not think it. Get out of here. I will not think it. That is Pratipaksha Bhavana. Bhava is there. That's why I am Bhavanani. Bhavanani is a Bhavanani. Actually, it comes from Bhavan. Bhavan means home. So Bhavananis are supposed to be home lovers. But I like to say Bhavanani, lot of emotion is there. Lot of bhava is there. Once a guy thought he was introducing me, and he introduced me as Ananda Yogi Bhavanani. I'm like, that's it. I think I should change my name. That sounds so good. It was perfectly incorrect. Ananda Yogi Bhavanani. I'm like, seriously, nobody can mess it up that well. He had all the four components, but play playing Scrabble. Ganesh Chaturthi gets up, and our dear Ananda Yogi Bhavanani, I'm like, who's that? Bhavana should be there. Don't negate the emotions. Please don't negate, don't vilify them. Don't try to suppress and repress them. Experience them. Sublimate them. So the Matsyasana, when we are doing the Ukara Nada, ooh, you are connecting to this beautiful part of you that is linked to the limbic system, that is linked to the emotional flood, and you are becoming bigger than the flood. You are becoming bigger than the cyclone. You are becoming bigger than the storm. You know the beautiful story of the eagle. You know, the problem with me is I go around the world, I teach so many people, so many beautiful things, and then when it comes to my own life, I mess things up. Because after all, I'm also human, right? We have so much wisdom when we are counseling others. Where does it go when we need to counsel ourselves? Very, very difficult. That's the challenge. But at least I try, okay? I make an attempt. Make a lot of failures, but I make an attempt. But coming back, when there is a storm, all the birds try to find shelter. You know what the eagle does? It flies above the storm. It doesn't negate the storm. It doesn't hide from the storm. It doesn't try to find shelter. It outgrows the storm. It goes above the storm because there's no storm above the clouds. The other day as we were landing, I was like, God, again I'm not going to land at Pondicherry. Again, the clouds were so heavy, and the pilot's like, we have some turbulence, put on your seatbelt. I'm like, if you guys don't land in Pondi today, I'm never again going to take a flight into Pondicherry. And this Trichy and 200 miles by bus was so traumatic last time. And I'm like, some of you would have seen a video of my alternate nostril breathing. My heart rate was 110, 115. I brought it down to about 85 with 15 minutes of alternate nostril breathing. A very good way to control the emotional volatility. Then I started to chant. I chanted all the Ganesha mantras I knew. And I'm like, finally, after finishing on them, Om Gam Ganapate Namaha, Om Gam Ganapate Namaha, and finally the plane landed. I'm like, Ganapate Namaha. Thank you, Ganesha. Huh? See, every day we have this. But as we were coming down the clouds, I was thinking, above the clouds, it's amazing, beautiful, bright, sunshine. The universe is happy and healthy. And then below that, that is why yoga is not about suppression. Yoga is not about repression. Yoga is about sublimation, transformation, and transcendence. When you go above it, even the mountain becomes a molehill. You know, when you are flying, the beauty of flying is when you look down and everything is so small. Everything is so small. All the problems are so small when you're up there. And then you come down and oh my God. Can't we just be up there? Can't we be on Mount Kailash? Go up to Mount Kailash and be there. I'll end with one more thing. My music mentor and my role model in music was T.V. Shankararangan sir. Amazing human being. And I remember he had given a concert and Sangeeta's met him. She knows what a beautiful man he is. She's had the privilege of meeting Sangeeta sir, Lakshman sir, Rishiculture, and seeing how such great people who are so down to earth, accessible, humble. I remember after a concert at one of the Tyagaraja festivals at Sringeri Mutt here, the Saradamba, We were having prasadam and started talking to him. I said, sir, what an amazing concert you gave today. Because I would sit in the front row and just keep crying. From the start of his concert to the end of his concert, I'll only cry, nothing else. That was the impact of his music on me. Especially in between, he had a big health challenge, and then when he came back and sang, oh my God, just to see him singing and still alive and singing was just such a catharsis for me to sit there and listen to him. I asked him, so what is this experience that you have when you are singing on stage like that? And he said, Ananda, when I'm singing, I'm transported to another dimension. He said, I'm in another dimension that is perfect. It's a perfect dimension. Everything is great. Everything is the way it should be. Everything is brilliant, and I'm just in ecstasy. He was describing samadhi actually. And he said, then the concert ends. And he said, I come down to terra firma with a hard thud. That is the exact word he said. I come back to earth with a hard thud, and that is the struggle, Ananda. The struggle is this reality which is so unreal. We think this is real and that is unreal. It's the opposite. That is real and this is unreal. That is why it is asatoma sadgamaya. It's very difficult. And this is why so many geniuses have either committed suicide or taken to drugs and drink and, made a mess of their life. Because, once you experience that, I know what it is, okay? Sangeeta knows that I know what it is. Once you experience that, everything becomes painful. That's why Patanjali says, once you have that viveka, dukkhameva sarvam vivekinaha, when you develop viveka, you realize all of this is dukkha. That is why the Buddha said everything is dukkha. Problem is, you cannot wish it away. We have to face it. That is why we are here. To be human is to face the challenge. To be human is to learn to steady our ship in the midst of the storm. As someone said, that a ship is safe in the harbor. The safest place for a ship is in the harbor, except in war. In war, your enemy knows how to bomb you if you're at the harbor. Pearl Harbor? Anyone? The safest place for a ship is the harbor, but that's not the purpose of being a ship, to stay in the harbor forever. Right? And that is why Matsyasana helps us to swim through life, swim through the emotions, and find that stability, that sthirata, that ease, that sukhata, that lies within each and every one of us. It's there. Doesn't matter if it's Kim, Jyoti, Lotika, Gita, Nalokji, Risha, Janaki, Michelle, Bharataji, Mandaviji, Sangeeta, Michael, Helga, Divya, Ruby, Nilachal, it doesn't matter who it is. Or this Ananda Balayogi Bhavanani. It lies within all of us. Seek within. Find that balance within. And then, once you have found it, share it with others. That's my message for today.
Thank you. Can I ask you one very quick question? The answer is yes or no. A yes/no question, because I'm mindful of your time. But
I don't have any yes or no, but you can ask me a question.
yes. Because, when we are in this posture and we open so much, this is, and please correct me, in any language that I'm using, that it's a viloma poise, isn't it? Like where the energy comes down. Because I want to make sure that when we practice, we're on the appropriate page, everyone, right? Because we're going back and we're opening up, but the energy is it is a flow, or is it just coming back from the top of the skull? It should go down the spine to the earth, isn't it? The
It's like a
focus.
bridge. It's a bridge.
So, it's a bridge between where we touch with the top of the head and then the bottom of the. So the spine is the bridge.
The spine is the bridge. The spine is everything in Hatha Yoga.
But the movement of
No
energy,
spine, no Hatha.
the movement of the energy, is that, should we think about the movement of the energy back to the bottom of the spine, or is it not that important that we focus on it?
I would rather focus more on the arch of the chest,
Okay,
how the chest is opening up, and what that expansiveness feels in the heart region, the anahata.
perfect. That's all. That's it.
Expansive heart that can encompass all emotions and is large enough to neutralize anything. That's a nice one. Emotions are waters flowing below the bridge. I like that. Yes. It's again a beautiful way to connect the heart and the head. It's another way to think about it.
Yeah, and the bottom of the spine, that is also the
Yeah.
other aspect, the
I'm just thinking
instincts,
of that.
and
Yeah.
because emotions then will, be very body based.
You see, the thing is that the moment it's like diluting the emotions through a physical posture.
See.
It's an amazing posture. And again, one more thing you need to be very careful here is it's a vulnerable posture. No animal wants to be in a posture like this because you're vulnerable to predators. When you do this, you are safe. That is why whenever stressed, you want this. This is the opposite of it. This is, I am open to life. I am open to experience. I am open to challenge. And so you are actually putting yourself into a vulnerable position to realize that you can express your vulnerability and still be safe. Again, it's a Pratipaksha Bhavana. Because we often think by expressing vulnerability, we have put ourselves at risk. Yes, out there on the, streets of New York, you want to be safe, not vulnerable, okay? Lodika spent time in Calcutta. You don't want to be out late night in the middle of Calcutta streets. I went for a tour the other night at 10:30, 11, and I'm like, seriously, I would not like to be out here alone for sure. Some of the city lives, you become vulnerable. So normal life, we are taught, don't be vulnerable, don't express your emotions, expressing your emotions is making you vulnerable. And that is why this whole stupid idea that men don't cry. To hell with that idea. Real men not only cry, they express it also. And yes, women also cry, men also cry. Have you seen sometimes the beautiful animals like cows can cry also? You can see it, if you look at the eyes, you'll see it in many of these animals. We often don't realize it. They also feel a lot of emotions. Again, the problem with the fish, it doesn't seem like it can close its eyes, so you don't see that it cries. And again, another thing on that, because the fish is always in water, you don't know if it's crying or not. Charlie Chaplin is said to have made a statement, I like walking in the rain. because then nobody can see me crying. Nobody can see my tears. I often do that when I'm cycling. It's beautiful. For me, my cycling is a catharsis. Put on my helmet and my glasses and I can cry as much as I want, I can sing as much as I want, I can do what I want. Never be ashamed of emotions. Never be ashamed of emotions. Just realize that your emotions shouldn't impact others in negative ways. Just as you have right to emotion, others have right not to be negatively impacted by your emotions. If you have to cry, go to the bathroom and cry as much as you want. Go to the beach and sit there and cry as much as you want, shout as much as you want. But don't go and punch somebody just because you are mad. Express your emotions. On that flight back from London to Chennai, after Devsan and I were deported from Italy and we spent a week in London trying to get an Italian visa, and I was told we Italians have attitude by the lady at the table. Kalavati never believed I had a problem with women till that day. I said, women behind the table, I always have a problem. No table, no problem. So it's not the woman, it's the table. And I remember, because I felt I let everybody down by not paying attention to that visa stamp. Went into the flight, the Emirates flight we got that day, spent half an hour in the washroom of the flight just crying. It was very good catharsis. Didn't stop there. I came home immediately. In those days we didn't have Zoom much. Found a Skype link, created a Skype link and gave some Skype sessions for the people who had come to the ashram in Savona who had wanted to come and study with me. I gave them for the first time ever the Skype sessions that time. So don't stop with that emotion. Let the emotion go out and then do what is right. Don't stop wallowing in the emotion. That's like the pig wallowing in the mud. Nilachals found a beautiful picture for my PPT. I'm going to Chennai on Friday for a talk, 26th, at the Siddha Institute, and he's made a nice one with a pig in the mud, and the pig is thinking this is heaven. Yeah. I'm talking about how the chitta is so conditioned by where it is. Anyway, you said it's a yes or no question, but see what happened. We'll create a new one. Ananda's box, like Pandora's box. Seeing through the lens of a tear. Lacrimi, wow.
Wow.
I think I'll stop there because otherwise you're not going to get any practices done today.
That's true. They all know that I'm adding like 15 minutes anyway. There's maybe today a little more. We'll see. We're taking it a little bit slower than we thought. So.
I had a beautiful conversation with a doctor in Malaysia. She and I, we have a lot of correspondence. And she was talking about a composition she had made in Sanskrita. She's a Sanskrit expert. She reads both Sanskrit and Arabic. It's a very interesting combination. And she had written a poetry in Sanskrita and was discussing it with a professor. And this professor of Buddhist studies who she corresponds with, and he's like, the meter is wrong and this doesn't make sense and all. And she's like, this is Bhakti. And he says, even if it is Bhakti, there has to be proper grammar and meter. And I'm like, this guy has missed the whole point of what is devotion. Bhakti transcends everything. in Bhakti is a rarefied, sublimated emotion. It transcends everything. There's nothing about ritual at all in Bhakti. You can do everything wrong and it will still be right by the divine. All our stories in Indian culture, the Nayanmars, 63 Nayanmars, and all of them mess everything up. Not one of them does anything as it is meant to be. All of them mess it up. And Shiva blesses all of them. The Alvas, the same. Andal. In our tradition, flowers that are going to be put for the divine should never be put on, shouldn't touch the human at all, especially the human hair. You don't put flowers in your hair and then put it on God. Oh my God. It's totally wrong. Against the tradition, against the pure sanctity. What does Andal do? She wears the mala and sees whether she looks good for Vishnu. Because she loves Vishnu so much, she wants to check whether she is looking like a good bride for Vishnu. Her father doesn't know it, so this mala is being put on Vishnu's statue every day. This is how it is. Kannappa, to do Abhisheka, he takes water in his mouth and spits it out on the lingam. And you try doing that in any Shiva temple, you'll be lucky if you come out alive. Bhakti it transcends everything. This is the rarefied, sublimated emotion is Bhakti. So again, this mid-chest is very much about bringing that. Can you transform raw emotion into rarefied, sublimated Bhakti? That's another person. Take care and have a wonderful time. Love you all so much.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.